Welcome. If you crave chilling true crime stories, real mysteries, and twists you'll never see coming, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and join a community that never looks away from the truth. Because every week, we shine a light where others won't. Are you ready? Let's begin. Echo Falls, Oregon, was the kind of town that seemed untouchable. Tucked between endless pine forests and winding creeks, it felt immune to the chaos of the outside world. People left their cars running at the gas station while they ran inside for coffee. Porch lights glowed through the night, not as warnings, but as quiet beacons of hospitality. But everything changed on the night of September 12, 2019. At exactly 10:43 p.m., the Echo Falls Police Department received a 911 call that would unravel the illusion of safety forever. The dispatcher's recording still chills even the most hardened investigators. A young woman's voice, trembling, gasping for breath. "He's in the house. Please, don't." Then, a muffled crash. A clatter, as if something heavy toppled over. And then, silence. The line went dead. When officers arrived minutes later at 112 Pine Shadow Lane, the Whitmore residence, they found the front door half open, swaying with the night breeze. Inside was chaos. The living room looked as though a hurricane had passed through. A lamp was shattered across the carpet. Couch cushions were slashed open, feathers spilling like snow. On the hardwood floor, dark smears of blood stretched in frantic patterns toward the hallway. Anna's cell phone lay in pieces by the staircase, its glass screen cracked like ice. But Anna herself was gone. The Whitmores weren't strangers to Echo Falls. Anna was the youngest daughter of Tom and Margaret Whitmore, both respected in town. Tom owned the only hardware store for 20 miles. Margaret worked at the library. The family was well-liked, known for their kindness, their stability. Anna, at 19, had just started her freshman year at Echo Falls Community College. She was ambitious, bright, and fiercely independent. Friends described her as the kind of girl who dreamed big but never forgot where she came from. She had plans to transfer to Oregon State within 2 years, maybe even pursue journalism. Now, her name was on every neighbor's lips, whispered in fear. The town reacted instantly. Echo Falls had always prided itself on being safe. Parents who never thought twice about letting their kids bike after dark suddenly enforced strict curfews. Grocery stores reported a run on locks, deadbolts, and motion sensor lights. One local hardware clerk recalled that within 48 hours, they sold out of padlocks for the first time in decades. But beneath the surface, another question gnawed at everyone's minds. Was this the work of an outsider? A drifter passing through the forests? Or worse, was Anna's abductor someone from Echo Falls itself? Detective Harold Mercer was assigned lead investigator on the case. Mercer was in his late 40s, a man with sharp eyes and a reputation for patience. He wasn't flashy, wasn't loud, but he noticed details others missed. He arrived at the Whitmore residence just after midnight, walking through the front door with latex gloves pulled tight over his hands. What struck him first wasn't the violence. It was the silence. The house felt suspended in time, as though the chaos had been frozen the moment Anna vanished. The faint smell of iron hung in the air. Upstairs, the family dog, a golden retriever named Daisy, whimpered from inside a locked bedroom. Mercer crouched near the blood smears. They weren't a single pool, but erratic streaks, evidence of a struggle. Someone had been dragged, but there was no body. And strangely, no forced entry. Whoever had entered the Whitmore home had been let inside. The first wave of interviews painted a complicated picture of Anna's life. Her parents described her as cautious, the kind of girl who always double-checked that the doors were locked when home alone. Her friends, however, offered another perspective. Anna had recently started dating again after a difficult breakup the year before. Rumors swirled about late-night texts, secret meetups, and a relationship her parents might not have known about. One friend, Maya Ellison, revealed something chilling. 2 weeks before Anna vanished, she confided in Maya that she felt someone was watching her. "She told me she'd see shadows near her window," Maya recalled. "Like someone was standing outside at night, just staring." At the time, Anna brushed it off as paranoia. But after the disappearance, the memory took on new weight. Had Anna been stalked? As the days passed with no sign of Anna, Echo Falls began to fracture under the weight of fear. Neighbors who once shared meals now eyed each other with suspicion. Every unfamiliar truck or van was reported to police. The sheriff's office was flooded with tips, most of them dead ends, strangers passing through town, late-night noises, mysterious figures spotted near the woods. But Mercer remained focused on one question. If there was no forced entry, who did Anna trust enough to let inside? Investigators pieced together Anna's final hours from text logs, security cameras, and witness statements. On September 12th, she spent the day at classes before stopping at the library, where her mother worked, around 6 p.m. The two chatted briefly, nothing unusual. By 7 o'clock, Anna was home. At 8:15, her phone records show a brief call with Maya Ellison. They talked about an upcoming exam. Maya described Anna as a little distracted, like she was waiting for something. At 9:40, Anna texted another friend, "Can't talk now, someone's coming over." The friend asked who. Anna never replied. By 10:43, her 911 call was placed. In less than an hour, Anna had gone from safe in her home to vanished. Mercer's team uncovered several puzzling details. First, the blood in the hallway. DNA confirmed it belonged to Anna. But the trail stopped abruptly, as though it had been wiped clean or the victim lifted off the ground. Second, the shattered phone. The damage suggested it had been thrown against the wall, perhaps during a struggle. Yet the SIM card was missing, deliberately removed. Finally, the dog. Daisy had been locked upstairs. Whoever entered the house took the time to shut the retriever away, preventing her from interfering. This wasn't random violence. This was deliberate, planned. By the 1-week mark, Echo Falls felt unrecognizable. Candlelight vigils filled the town square. Posters of Anna's smiling face were plastered across every pole and storefront. Volunteers searched the forests in coordinated sweeps, but no trace was found. Theories spiraled out of control. Some whispered about a serial killer passing through Oregon. Others swore they'd seen suspicious figures near the old lumber mill. And then there were darker theories, that someone from within the Whitmore family knew more than they were admitting. Detective Mercer said it best in a press conference. Someone out there knows what happened to Anna Whitmore. And until they come forward, Echo Falls will never sleep soundly again. 5 days after Anna vanished, her best friend, Maya Torres, was alone in her bedroom when her phone buzzed. The screen displayed unknown caller. She hesitated. When she answered, at first, there was only silence. The faint sound of breathing on the other end. "Maya," she whispered. "Who is this?" Then, a distorted voice. Mechanical, warped, almost inhuman. "Do you miss her?" Maya's heart froze. The voice went on. It mentioned things no stranger could possibly know. The stuffed rabbit Anna had brought to every sleepover since she was 10. The secret hideout in the woods they called the Fort. The nickname Anna's late father had given her, Starling. These weren't random details. Whoever this was knew Anna, knew her intimately. Before Maya could respond, the caller hung up. It didn't stop there. Over the next week, more people in Echo Falls began receiving calls. Teenagers, parents, even Officer Ryan Hale, one of the first cops on the scene at the Whitmore house. Each call followed the same eerie pattern. Silence at first, then a distorted voice revealing pieces of private conversations, family secrets, even things people thought only Anna herself knew. And every call ended the same way, with a promise that made stomachs drop. "One of you will be next." The town, already fragile, now spiraled into hysteria. Local news stations swarmed the story. By the time regional and national outlets picked it up, Echo Falls was branded with a new name. The Town of the Phantom. Reporters camped outside the Whitmore home, outside the police station, even following Maya to class. For a town that had once thrived on anonymity, Echo Falls was now the center of a nightmare broadcast across America. Detective Harold Mercer studied every detail of the calls. Phone records showed the numbers were spoofed, bouncing across towers and masking their origin. But what unsettled Mercer most was the specificity. The Phantom didn't just taunt. They demonstrated access. Privileged access. When a call went out to Sheriff Emily Gaines, the Phantom recited word for word the argument she'd had with her husband the night before, inside their own home, with no one else present. This wasn't just a prank. This was surveillance. Echo Falls began to unravel. Teenagers stopped answering their phones. Parents pulled kids from school. The once bustling coffee shop downtown now sat half empty, its regulars too paranoid to linger in public. Neighbors turned on each other. Some believed the phantom had to be local, someone who'd grown up in town, someone who knew their lives inside and out. Rumors flared. Was it a jealous ex? A spurned classmate? Even a former teacher? Others whispered about something darker. That Anna herself was still alive. That she was calling them. By now, national networks had seized on the story. Anchors speculated about the Phantom of Echo Falls, turning the case into a media spectacle. Talk shows debated whether Anna had been abducted, killed, or was part of the calls herself. A cable news segment even replayed the audio from Maya's call, digitally cleaned by experts. The warped, robotic tone bled through living rooms across the country, followed by the haunting whisper, "Do you miss her?" That clip alone racked up millions of views online. And for the people of Echo Falls, it wasn't just a story. It was their reality. No one bore the weight more than Maya Torres. Already crushed by grief, she now found herself at the center of the Phantom's cruel game. Friends avoided her, afraid the calls would spread to them. Her own parents begged her to shut off her phone, but she refused. "What if Anna tries to reach me?" she told detectives. "What if she's alive, and this is her way of telling me?" Mercer wanted to believe her, but deep down, he feared something else, that the Phantom wasn't Anna reaching out. It was someone exploiting her memory, someone savoring the torment. Then came the first escalation. A local shopkeeper, Howard Lang, received a call late one evening as he was closing his store. The Phantom whispered, "You left the back door unlocked. Daisy is inside." Howard froze. Daisy was his daughter's cat, and when he rushed home in panic, he found the back door ajar. The cat was missing. Hours later, Daisy turned up, inside the Whitmore family's mailbox. Unharmed, but shaken. The message was clear. The Phantom wasn't just making calls. They were here, in Echo Falls, watching. Detective Mercer held a press conference. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed exhaustion. This is not a game. Whoever is responsible for these calls is committing a serious crime. We urge the public not to answer unknown numbers and to report any contact immediately. We are doing everything we can to identify this individual. But Mercer knew the truth. The Phantom was always one step ahead. And now, the entire town was playing by their rules. For 3 long weeks, Echo Falls lived in suspended terror. The Phantom's calls had turned neighbors against each other, and the unanswered questions still haunted every conversation. Where was Anna Whitmore? The town hoped she was alive, clinging to the faintest chance of rescue. But those hopes shattered one cold October morning. It was 2 hikers who stumbled across her. They'd been cutting through the overgrown trails near the abandoned Echo Falls sawmill, a decaying monument of the town's past, long shuttered and left to rot. There, in a clearing of broken glass and rusted machinery, they saw her. Anna Whitmore, 19 years old. Her body bore the brutal signature of rage, multiple stab wounds across her chest and abdomen. Her skin was pale, her clothes torn. Beside her, half buried in pine needles, lay a mask. Not porcelain, not ornate, but cheap, plastic, the kind you'd find in a bargain bin around Halloween. It was smeared with Anna's blood. When word spread, the fragile line between fear and paranoia snapped. Echo Falls erupted. If the Phantom's calls had divided the town, Anna's death fractured it completely. People no longer whispered suspicions, they shouted them. Some pointed to Ethan Reyes, Anna's ex-boyfriend. Their breakup had been messy, public. He was jealous, controlling, prone to sudden outbursts. More than one witness recalled heated arguments between them in the months before her disappearance. Others turned their suspicion toward Maya Torres, Anna's so-called best friend. Rumors spread that their friendship had soured, that Anna had been pulling away, leaving Maya desperate, resentful, maybe even violent. After all, Maya was the first to get a call. Coincidence or guilt? And then there was Officer Daniel Price, a young patrol officer, eager, ambitious. He'd been one of the first on the scene the night Anna vanished. Too fast, some argued, almost as if he'd known what he would find. Everyone had a theory. Everyone had a suspect. Detective Harold Mercer knew the town's patience was running thin. Pressure mounted from the community, the press, and even state authorities to produce results. So when a search warrant for Ethan Reyes' car turned up something damning, Mercer made his move. In the trunk, hidden under a pile of gym clothes, was a mask. Cheap plastic, identical to the one found beside Anna's body. Within hours, Ethan was in custody. The town exhaled briefly. A killer had been caught. Justice was within reach, but not everyone was convinced. Ethan swore his innocence, claiming the mask had been planted. "You think I'd be that stupid?" he told police during interrogation. "You think I'd keep that in my car, with everyone watching me? This is a setup." Most dismissed it as desperation, until the calls began again. Just days after Ethan's arrest, the phones rang again. Unknown number. Distorted voice. "You got the wrong man." This time, the Phantom wasn't just taunting. They were laughing. Calls flooded the town once more, each one proof that whoever had tormented Echo Falls was still out there. For the people of Echo Falls, the betrayal cut deep. They had believed, if only for a moment, that the nightmare was over, that Anna's killer sat behind bars. Now, doubt poisoned everything. Had the police bungled the case? Had Detective Mercer rushed to make an arrest under pressure? Or was the Phantom someone even closer, someone who enjoyed watching the town turn on itself? Parents withdrew their children from school. Businesses shuttered early. The woods around the sawmill were declared off-limits, though teenagers dared each other to sneak in at night. Every mask in town, Halloween decorations, party supplies, even the kind worn at school plays, became symbols of terror. Stores pulled them from shelves. Bonfires were held to burn them in heaps. The Phantom had given Echo Falls a new icon, and the town couldn't escape it. Behind bars, Ethan Reyes became both a villain and a martyr. Half the town was convinced of his guilt. The jealous ex, the violent outbursts, the mask in his car. It fit too neatly to ignore. But the other half began to question. Reporters dug into his past and found little beyond normal teenage recklessness. Friends swore he loved Anna, even after their breakup. Some insisted he was incapable of murder. And then there was the undeniable fact: the calls hadn't stopped. If Ethan was the Phantom, how were they still calling? Detective Mercer couldn't sleep. The case gnawed at him. Yes, Ethan was volatile. Yes, the evidence seemed damning. But Mercer couldn't shake the feeling that it was too convenient, too clean. He replayed the calls over and over, studying the cadence of the Phantom's words, the pauses, the choice of details. He pored over surveillance footage, phone records, witness statements. And always, the same question haunted him. Who knew Anna well enough to wear her secrets like a second skin? By late October, Echo Falls had transformed into something unrecognizable. What had once been a sleepy timber town was now a community living behind locked doors and drawn curtains. Halloween, once a cherished event, was canceled. Parents wouldn't let children walk the streets. The fear of masks, the Phantom's masks, made even costumes a threat. But in the shadows, someone thrived. The Phantom wasn't finished. The calls were just the beginning. By the time October 31st arrived, Echo Falls was a town on the edge of collapse. Anna's body had been found. Ethan sat in jail. The Phantom's calls still echoed in the night. And yet, life tried to continue. For generations, the Echo Falls Fall Festival had been the centerpiece of Halloween. A night of hayrides, pumpkin carving, cider stands, and the famous corn maze that stretched across the old Miller farm. Canceling it would mean admitting defeat, that the Phantom had stripped the town of its last shred of normalcy. So, reluctantly, the festival went on. Hundreds came. Parents clutched children's hands. Teenagers roamed in groups, constantly looking over their shoulders. Police officers patrolled every corner. It was supposed to be a night of fragile healing. Instead, it became a nightmare. At exactly 8:32 p.m., just as the high school band wrapped up their performance, the lights went out. The entire fairground plunged into darkness. Screams cut through the October air. Somewhere, glass shattered. A generator sputtered and died. Then movement. Figures emerged. Dozens of them, each wearing the same cheap, plastic mask. Identical to the one found beside Anna's body. Identical to the one that had come to define the Phantom. At first, people thought it was a prank. Teenagers playing dress-up, mocking the tragedy. But then the masked figures moved closer. Surrounding, blending into the crowd. Silent, faceless, impossible to count. Someone shoved. Someone screamed, "Run!" Chaos erupted. Families bolted toward the exits, trampling one another in the rush. Children sobbed as they were pulled through the crowd. Food stands toppled. A Ferris wheel screeched to a halt mid-rotation, stranding passengers in the air. The masked figures didn't attack outright. They just were. Their presence alone was enough to ignite hysteria. But somewhere in the confusion, violence did break out. Knives flashed. Blood spilled. and the Phantom's legend grew darker. In the frenzy, Maya Torres was separated from her friends. She stumbled into the corn maze, stalks towering above her, their rustling drowned by distant screams. Her chest heaved as she tried to find her way out, but every path twisted back into itself. Then, a crunch of footsteps behind her. She turned. A masked figure. It lunged. Maya fought back, clawing, kicking, until her hands found the mask. She ripped it free, and froze. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't the Phantom. It was Anna. Anna's face was pale, streaked with blood. Her eyes were wide, wild, unrecognizable. For weeks, she had been mourned. Her body had been found. She had been buried. And yet, here she stood, alive, breathing, and holding a knife. Maya's voice cracked. "Anna? Oh my God, it's you." Anna leaned in close, her voice trembling, almost broken. "I had to. They made me." Before Maya could react, Anna shoved her to the ground and bolted, vanishing into the dark labyrinth of corn. When word spread through Echo Falls that Anna had been seen alive, the entire town convulsed in disbelief. The body in the woods, the blood on the mask, the funeral. Had it all been staged? If Anna was alive, then who was buried in her place? And, perhaps most chilling of all, who were they? By the time the power returned, the fairgrounds were a war zone. Dozens injured, 3 dead. Masked figures had scattered into the night, some unmasked as local teenagers caught in the frenzy, others disappearing without a trace. But the question burned hotter than ever. Was Anna the Phantom? Or was she just another pawn in a much larger game? Detective Mercer, already battered by weeks of failure, now faced the unthinkable. He had seen Anna's corpse with his own eyes, or what he thought was Anna's corpse. DNA tests had confirmed it. The coroner had filed the report. And yet Maya, terrified and shaking, swore she had seen her best friend alive. Swore she had touched her, heard her voice, looked into her eyes. Either the town had buried the wrong girl, or Anna Whitmore had risen from the dead. In the days following Halloween, the calls escalated. No longer just taunts, they were orchestrated, coordinated. Some calls went to survivors of the festival, replaying the sound of their own screams. Others described, in chilling detail, the deaths that had occurred in the blackout. And one call, received by Mercer himself, contained only a single phrase, whispered in that distorted voice. "She chose us." Echo Falls would never be the same. For weeks, the town had lived in fear of an outsider, some faceless monster lurking in the woods, hunting its daughters, tormenting its people. But the truth, when it came, was worse. The monster wasn't an outsider. It had been home all along. After the Halloween night massacre, Detective Harold Mercer doubled down on the case. The chaos of masked attackers, the blackout, and Maya's chilling encounter in the corn maze forced him to confront what no one wanted to believe. Anna Whitmore was alive. He ordered the body exhumed. The girl buried under Anna's name. The DNA tests. The autopsy. And with each discovery, the nightmare unraveled. The corpse wasn't Anna at all. The DNA didn't match. The girl had never been identified. Someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to convince Echo Falls that Anna was dead. But who could have staged something so elaborate? The answer came from a place Mercer least expected, Anna's own home. In her bedroom, hidden beneath loose floorboards, investigators uncovered journals. Dozens of them. Leather-bound, spiral-bound, some written in neat cursive, others in frantic, jagged scrawl. Inside was a roadmap to terror. Anna wrote of her obsession with horror films, Halloween, Scream, Friday the 13th. Pages filled with sketches of masks, notes on slasher tropes, diagrams of how victims should be discovered for maximum shock value. But beneath the fangirl admiration was something darker. She wrote about feeling invisible, about Echo Falls suffocating her, about wanting, no, needing, to be remembered. "I won't be another nameless girl from a nowhere town. I'll be the story they whisper about forever." And then, scrawled across entire pages in black ink, one recurring phrase. The final girl. But Anna hadn't acted alone. Cell tower pings, surveillance footage, and witness statements eventually tied the threads together to Liam Whitmore, Anna's stepbrother. Quiet, reserved, overshadowed, Liam had been the perfect accomplice. While Anna spun fantasies of becoming a legend, Liam provided the logistics. He spoofed the phone numbers for the Phantom's calls. He crept through windows to eavesdrop, gathering secrets to use later. He planted the mask in Ethan's car. And when Anna wavered, when the game seemed too real, Liam was the one who pushed it further. It was Liam who insisted a body was needed for authenticity. It was Liam who found a drifter, lured her, and left her corpse by the sawmill. And it was Liam who drove the knife into Anna herself to make her wounds believable. Anna had wanted a performance. Liam gave her a massacre. The question remained, why? Why terrorize a town? Why destroy lives? The answer lay in the journals. Fame, control, immortality. Anna's words spelled it out. People forget small towns, but they never forget a legend. We'll be the legends of Echo Falls. Our names will live forever. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about revenge. It was about becoming unforgettable. The plan was supposed to end differently. Anna would survive. She'd emerge bloodied but alive, the final girl. The town would rally around her. She'd give interviews, sell her story, maybe even write a book. Instead, Maya ripped off her mask. The illusion shattered. The performance collapsed. And the legend curdled into horror. On November 3rd, Anna and Liam Whitmore were taken into custody. Anna wept as she was led away, her once bright eyes vacant, her wrists cuffed. Liam, by contrast, smirked at the cameras, as if the attention itself was victory. When asked by reporters if he regretted what they'd done, he said only, "You'll never forget us." He was right. The fallout was catastrophic. Parents pulled their children from schools. Families moved away, unwilling to live in a place that had birthed such darkness. The abandoned sawmill, already a scar, was torn down entirely. Developers refused to touch the land. Locals said it was cursed. And the phrase, "the phantom," became a permanent scar in the town's history. A reminder that evil doesn't always come from the shadows. Sometimes it grows in the house next door. Years later, long after Anna and Liam had been sentenced, long after Echo Falls tried to erase its trauma, one truth remained. The scariest part wasn't the masks. It wasn't the phone calls. It wasn't even the blood spilled on the sawmill floor. It was this. The monsters came from within.